Sai Ram. We will now resume Chapter 5 of the Sai Satcharitra. Wrestling bout with Muhyiddin Tamboli and change in lifestyle. To return to other stories of Baba, there was a wrestler in Shirdi by the name Muhyiddin Tamboli. Baba and he did not agree on some points and both had a fight. In this, Baba was defeated. Thenceforth, Baba changed his dress and mode of living. He donned kafni, wore a langot, and covered his head with a piece of cloth. He took a piece of sackcloth for his bed and was content with wearing torn and worn out rags. He always said that poverty is better than kingship and far better than lordship. The Lord is always brother of the poor. Gangagir was also very fond of wrestling. Once, while he was wrestling, a similar feeling of dispassion descended over him, and at the proper time he heard the voice of an adept saying that he should wear out his body playing with God. So he too gave up samsara and turned towards God realization. He established a mutt on the banks of the river near Puntambe and lived there with his disciples. Sai Rama did not mix and speak with the people. He only gave answers when he was questioned. By day, he always sat under the neem tree, sometimes in the shade of a babool tree near the stream on the outskirts of the village. In the afternoon, he used to walk at random and go to Neemgaon. There, he frequented the house of Bala Sahib Dengle. Baba loved Mr. Bala Sahib. His younger brother, named Nana Sahib, had no son, though he married for a second time. Bala Sahib sent Nana Sahib for taking darshan of Sai Baba, and after some time, with his grace, Nana Sahib got a son. From that time onwards, people began to come in large numbers to see Sai Baba, and his fame began to spread and reached Ahmednagar. From thence, Nana Sahib Chandorkar and Keshav Chidambar and many others began to come to Shirdi. Baba was surrounded by his devotees during the day and slept at night in an old and dilapidated masjid. Baba's paraphernalia at this time consisted of a chillum, tobacco, a tin pot, long kafni, a piece of cloth round his head, and a short stick called a satka, which he always kept with him. The piece of white cloth on his head was twisted like matted hair and flowed down from the left ear on the back. This was not washed for weeks. He wore no shoes, no sandals. A piece of sackcloth was his seat for most of the day. He wore a waistcloth band, and for warding off cold, he always sat in front of a dhuni facing south, with his left hand resting on the wooden railing. In that dhuni, he offered an oblation of egoism, desires, and always uttered Allah Malik, which means God is the sole owner. The masjid in which he sat was only of 2 room dimensions, where all devotees came and saw him. After 1912, there was a change. The old masjid was repaired and a pavement was constructed. Before Baba came to live in this masjid, he lived for a long time in a place called Takia, where with ghungroos tied to his ankles, Baba danced beautifully and sang with tender love. Sai Ram. It is worth noting from this story how it talks about that Baba's followership and glory spread after he gave a child to someone who wanted one desperately and could not have that. There is a saying in the Bible, which, if I'm remembering correctly, says, O ye of little faith, had ye but faith, you wouldn't need miracles. This story reminds me of that saying. Because we have no faith, we need miracles. Because of our doubt, skepticism, lack of faith, a guru, a satguru has to do all this and show us that we are not seeing the whole truth, that we are not understanding all of existence, and there are significantly higher dimensions of existence at play. We pray that everybody gets to a stage where they do not need miracles, they do not need God to prove Himself or a guru to prove himself. It is believed that Baba himself wrote the Sai Satcharitra that is also mentioned in the introduction of the book. And there are portions in the book where you feel that Baba directly is giving you a message and is guiding you about something. When we read the portion about how Baba offered oblations of egoism, desires into the dhuni, I think that is a message from him directly hinting and guiding us to do that when we go to Dwarka Mai. When we go to Dwarka Mai, we shouldn't just visit it casually as a temple or something, make wishes or offer petty things. We should offer our whole ego and all our desires to be burnt by Dhunimai, to be purified by Dhunimai completely. Another thing worth noting in this story is how Baba didn't dress like any holy, saintly Muslim or Hindu leader, even religious leader, spiritual leader. He dressed like an athlete. He dressed like a fakir. He smoked a chillum. And this again tells us to transcend what we can see from our two eyes, to go beyond clothes and hair and symbols of spirituality, so called spirituality or religion, etc. And to see the divine when he presents himself amidst us and not get put off by, oh, he's wearing this, or he dresses like this, or he doesn't dress like this, etc., etc., etc. Let's transcend these physical ideas and traditions and conditioning. We shall continue chapter 5 in the next video. Sai Ram.